In this video, Organic Food and Cooking, I'll introduce you to Julie. I think you'll agree that Julie is a great person to teach us all about organic food and cooking. Before we begin, let's have Julie tell us a little about herself.
Hello and welcome to the Green Living series, Organic Food and Cooking. I'm Julie Daniluk, and as a holistic nutritionist, it's my passion to explain how living the organic lifestyle is better for you, for the planet, and for future generations. Today we're going to focus on why you want to look for organic products, how to choose the right foods and appliances to make your life in the kitchen easier, and what to do with these delicious selections with fun and easy recipes. Let's get started.
Thanks, Julie. You hear it all the time, organic this and organic that. But just what does organic mean? Where do you get organic produce, and what makes it different from regular produce? Here's Julie to explain.
Looking for local has become the biggest focus, as important as choosing organic. Local means that we've got a very low environmental footprint. When we're looking for fresh, we're often looking for firm fruit. An apple can be stored in long-term storage now with low oxygen environment, which is fantastic. They actually flush the environment with nitrogen, meaning that this apple will not oxidize. And that means that you've got a crispy piece of produce 6 months after it's been picked. It's a very exciting time in organics where we're now seeing an amalgamation of labels through the United States and Canada. Now the government has stepped in to make it mandatory that a product must have a seal of approval showing that someone has gone to the farm and checked in to make sure that no one is using pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, artificial fertilizers, or genetically modified organisms. If you're shopping on a budget, you want to consider the top 5 things that are really a focus for organics. Those are fruits and veggies that have a thin skin that are important to buy organically because we won't be peeling them away. Things like apples and pears, peaches, plums. Those northern fruits are a little bit higher in pesticides. Things that are peelable from the south, things like papayas, mangoes, and pineapple, if you are on a tight budget, know that you can cut away the surface of that and the inside does not have as many pesticides. When you're buying certified organic produce, it means that the farmer has taken incredible care in regenerating the soil. When they establish good soil by building up the good microflora, the good trichoderma bacteria to help the increase of nutrients into that food. So oftentimes the food is higher in nutrients. We're looking at up to 20% higher in vitamin C for an orange. Why? Well, also they find that the orange expresses more antioxidants when it's attacked by pests. So know that pesticides aren't necessarily a good thing for us. It also assures that they aren't using harmful chemicals. They now know that 95% of harmful chemicals are coming into our body via food. So know that pesticides are made from petroleum byproducts, and that's why we want to definitely avoid it. That we want to be focusing on organic food the way it used to be grown 100 years ago. When buying organic veggies, you want to focus on the green leafies. This is so important. 7 to 10 servings of veggies a day, that you're taking in a lot of produce. So you want to keep in mind that things like spinach are heavily sprayed conventionally, so it's very important to buy them organically. Another one that's really good is celery. Celery is very important to buy organically, and also bell peppers. Know that bell peppers, we like to eat them as is. We don't typically skin them, so they're also another thing to buy organically. Know that if you are on a budget, keep in mind that onions, root vegetables, and cabbage are not that heavily sprayed. They're so hardy that they can get away with a little shopping conventional if you're tight on a budget. Organic produce takes the flavor to the next level. Know that herbs are a wonderful way to make your food just sing. So you want to be picking things like basil. I wish you could smell this with me. It's so delicious. Basil is such a wonderful one to buy in season and then freeze it. You can be making your own pesto at home, and it adds so much flavor to everything. Another great tip to save money, consider growing a little herb garden right in your windowsill. It makes the whole kitchen smell alive and adds lots of extra oxygen to your cooking environment, and will make your food so much more delicious. And a great way to save money. Sprouts are such an amazing way to add fresh produce to your life in January and February when produce is a little bit at a premium. This is a great way to save money. All you need is some sprouting seeds and a little bit of potting soil. Simply sprinkle them in there, cover them over for a few days, and in 3 to 5 days you're going to have beautiful fresh produce right in your own kitchen. Even on fresh organic veggies, you can see a wonderful organic logo, and you want to be looking for a local farmer. This one, only 50 kilometers from here, that's providing these beautiful dandelion greens. Why are we throwing out our weeds when in fact we could be picking them out of our backyard and munching them down? If you don't live close to a highway, consider making a delicious salad out of these dandelion greens. They are so good for you, packing a punch to flush out the liver and keeping the kidneys vibrant. They're so high in potassium, they help lower blood pressure. Local produce is such an incredible money saver. You want to consider buying this in September, October, when it's only 99 cents versus the old $4 in December, January, and then freeze it to assure that you have fresh veggies all winter long. The organic industry has really exploded because moms are out to protect their babies with organic food. You want to be looking for wonderful, simple ingredients because organics does not allow any additives, preservatives, and most important, artificial colors in baby food. Artificial colors can affect the baby's brain development, and so they now know that learning is so much easier on organic food. It is wonderful that we now have organic formula available for babies. That is so critical as dairy is quite high in pesticides. It's also wonderful to see the first food that they're eating, the little jars prepared, but we're also going to be doing a wonderful demo on how easy it is to make the baby food yourself. You can also see the first grains that are iron fortified, also available for babies, teething biscuits, and even organic diapers so that you don't have any chemicals next to their very sensitive tushes. Dairy is one of the critical things to buy organic. Why? Well, because it's a concentration. Know that that animal's been eating so much grain and it concentrates in their breast milk. So it is important to, especially with things like cheese, because consider it's 5 cups of milk going into 1 cup of cheese. Yogurt is such a fantastic product because it's not much more than conventional and it's full of live bacterial culture. Standard conventional yogurt has often a quick flash process that doesn't leave the live bacteria really intact. And those live bacteria go to work to help save your digestive tract, helping you increase the amount of nutrients you uptake and also helps with saving your immune system. So you want to focus on organic yogurt. When you buy organic milk, you're assured that it's free of bovine growth hormone and antibiotics. The great thing about buying in bulk is that you can assure that it's fresh. Don't be shy to actually ask to have something sampled if you're worried about freshness. The great thing is that organic often tastes sweeter, or more the way it's supposed to taste. Have you ever tasted seeds and nuts and they taste a bit soapy? No, that can be the residues. What is so great about organic bulk is that you're assured it's always going to be sweet every time. Organic agriculture nourishes the soil, which ensures that the almonds are getting extra nutrients. That's going to translate into higher minerals for you, and that increases the flavor of the old almond. By stocking your pantry with organic bulk, you ensure that you'll be cooking for pennies a meal. So know that a big thing is organic hot dogs for kids. It is nitrate free, that's a big one. Nitrates is a chemical they add to conventional hot dogs that can be problematic for our immune system. When you're buying organic meat, you're assured that the animal was not fed genetically modified organisms, and they were also made sure that their diet was pure without pesticides or herbicides added to their feed. Organic eggs means that the chicken can peck around the yard and pick up the critical nutrients. They're shown to be higher in omega-3s naturally. A big movement in the health food industry is towards the way things were really done 100 years ago. Hunting for wild bison, anyone? Well, eating buffalo is wonderful. It means that the animals are able to roam freely. That's free range. And the difference is that they're often eating the grasses that are around, and in the wintertime they might be fed extra feed, but it's not necessarily organic feed. That's the big difference between free range and organic. Everyone knows that fish is extremely high in nutrition, so you want to be looking for wild fish, as organic farming is not quite established here in North America. So wild fish means that it's often line caught, and you want to be looking at medium swimmers that swim not at the surface where there might be any oil spills or down below where there might be any mercury. And you want to keep your fish smaller. Things like herring, sardines, and mackerel mean that they're packed full of omega-3s, but definitely a healthy fish to be eating. In summary, when shopping organically, you want to focus on buying in season, making sure to shop in bulk so that you can save lots of money, and certainly look for local products so that it's ultimately fresh for you and your family.
We now know what organic is and where to get it. So what else do we need to do to make the most out of our organic recipes? Julie?
You want to be setting up an organic pantry in such a way that when you come home from work, you've got everything laid out ready to go. So the essentials of delicious, flavorful food is making sure you've got all your tastes covered. Olive oil is a wonderful thing that makes food just sing with flavor. It carries the flavors through the food, so it's very important to have a good tasting oil. Apple cider vinegar is one of the most healthy vinegars that you could possibly carry because white vinegar is normally made from fermented sugar, where this is the goodness of apples. Organic agave is a new syrup that's really hit the market because it's wonderful for diabetics. It keeps your blood sugar nice and even and yet has a delicious honey-like flavor. Tamari adds a real salty zing to any meal and is a real essential for your kitchen. Every dish could use a little zap of maple syrup. It's such a better option than a pinch of sugar in your meal. It's great to keep local organic tomatoes on hand to ensure that you've got an Italian option for any meal. Organic spices like ginger and turmeric are extra potent, much more powerful than the average conventional spice. And the extra special thing, they're non-irradiated when they're organic. Almond butter is not just for sandwich bread. Consider it a delicious substitute for tahini in a recipe like hummus. You want to keep lots of great grains in stock. Things like rice pasta are so fantastic. Cook in only 7 minutes, and the gluten-free is so much easier to digest. Red lentils and mung beans are the fastest cooking of all the beans, so you want to make sure to keep those in hand when you're in a rush. Flax seeds, sunflower seeds, and hemp seeds make delicious nutrition to any meal and are safe to send to schools for kids. Know that it's a really good idea to keep lots of these mason jars on hand as it keeps the bugs out and the freshness in. Everyone loves to have lots of canned fish on board because it's so easy. This one actually comes with a flip top for easy opening. You want to be looking for line-caught fish because dragnet fishing damages the bottom of the oceans, and always make sure it's wild. And last but not least, you want to have lots of organic root vegetables on hand. These don't need refrigeration and they add so much nutrition. If you forgot to shop, at least you've got your veggies. When you finish setting up your organic pantry, you've got all the essentials you need to make a great meal. Just pick up a little bit of protein, some fresh veggies, and you'll be making a meal in no time. When you're organic cooking, you want to make sure to have the right accompaniments for every meal. It's great to have these utensils on hand to make sure that every meal goes smoothly. A slow cooker or crock pot is a great addition to any kitchen. It's lined with ceramic, which is one of the safest things you could possibly buy, and it's actually quite easy cleanup and will save you piles of money and energy. I just love my bamboo cutting board. It keeps the odors away from your main cutting board and makes sure that you don't have any of the bacteria of a regular plastic cutting board. Much safer. Consider switching your plastic utensils over to silicone. They're safe to 500 degrees and are perfect for non-stick coatings. Everyone, I mean everyone, needs a wonderful knife in the kitchen. It ensures that you're not making a laborious effort in cutting your veggies, but you've got a nice weighted knife that does the work for you. I think we've gotten addicted to non-stick coatings. Unfortunately, we now know that Teflon is not very safe. The great substitute is titanium. Know that it's a completely safe mineral that makes the food slide off like butter, and it is so worth the investment.
If all of the wonderful health reasons don't convince you to go organic, these delicious recipes certainly will.
Today we're going to be making a one-pot meal because it's fantastic to throw on first thing in the morning, and when you come home from work, it's ready to go. You can cook in large capacity, so that means cooking once on Sunday and having it all week long for lunch. Know that these ingredients combine really quickly and easily, and we're going to show you a delicious harvest soup today. So our first ingredient today is our beans. That's our source of protein. It's nice to take a break from meat and have a vegetarian protein, and it's really inexpensive. Know that it's a wonderful idea to soak your beans ahead of time if there's time, because it really helps with the digestibility of the beans. It also helps wake up the enzymes. So we're just soaking with 2 cups of water and our cup of beans, and know that overnight these are going to expand till they're all ready to go here. These are cranberry beans, but you can use any type of bean. And we're going to add that there. That's 1 cup of beans. And 1 cup of French lentils. The reason why I'm a big fan of French lentils is because they actually cook down to a creamy consistency, so it's almost like an added richness, like you've added flour to your soup without the flour. And we can add our wonderful mushrooms. That's 2 cups of mushrooms and 4 onions. You might be shocked at how big this pot is getting, but that's because I want to be able to cook it for everyone. Next, we're going to add the local organic tomatoes. Now, I've done my own canning job, which is fantastic for money saving, but it's completely fine to use canned. We're using 1.5 liters of tomatoes for this big job. All right, add a little bit of celery. That embarks a little natural sodium and potassium, excellent for, the potassium is fantastic for your heart. And now I think it's important to give a little demo on how to cut up the squash, because some people who haven't worked a lot around big, heavy produce might be a little intimidated by this organic creature, but it is so easy. You're just cutting this 2 pieces off. Know that this is great just to cut in half, coat with a little bit of maple syrup and pop it in the oven, so that piece is taken care of. So for today we're going to use just this part, which is so easy. All you're doing is quickly peeling it. Once you peel it, you make sure to cube it up in nice bite-sized chunks. And this is embarking a tremendous amount of sweetness to the food, because squash is one of the sweetest of all the veggies. You want sweet, sour, savory, and salty in a meal to satisfy your cravings. That's often why people end up ricocheting into huge desserts, because often their meal doesn't have all their flavors combined. So when making a beautiful harvest soup, we're taking care of that. There's nothing better than some purple cabbage in a harvest soup. It embarks indole 3-carbinol, a fantastic phytonutrient for preventing cancer. Know that we're going to try out this wonderful, fun, inexpensive instrument called a mandolin. So you just hold a good chunk of the cabbage carefully away from the blade and stroke down quickly. You'd be surprised, in seconds. Look how fast and easy it does this job. Fantastic for coleslaw, and they're available at pretty much any health food store for under $20. So we're adding about 1 cup of our cabbage. There we go. Now we're left to season our soup using organic chopped ginger, 2 tablespoons. Now you can add either basil soaked in olive oil, or I love using organic pesto because it's going to add the most flavor of all. And last, we're going to be adding some stock. And if you're stuck for stock, then feel free to use some organic bouillon cubes. These are really important because they're getting away from monosodium glutamate, which a lot of people are having allergies to nowadays. For those on a sodium-reduced diet, this is not an essential ingredient, but Celtic sea salt does have 65 trace minerals that are wonderfully healthy for you. Now we're going to add a good teaspoon of salt because it's a very large soup, but know that there's lots of flavor in there already if you are on a sodium-reduced diet. If you haven't purchased a stock pot, not to worry. This is a wonderful recipe on the stove. Just peek in on it every half hour or so to ensure that it doesn't burn. And you need about 2 hours to allow all the flavors to meld. Slow cookers cook at low temperatures, so you need to cook about 4 to 8 hours, simmering gently. And right before you want to serve it, pop in your green beans at the very end, and that embarks a wonderful fresh flavor and keeps them nice and green. This harvest soup is a great thing to serve alongside your appetizer, as the flax crackers make a great crouton in your soup.
That looked simply incredible, Julie. You know, most people tend to think of dips as delicious, but maybe not so good for you. What if I told you that you could make an organic dip that's not only healthy, but can actually boost your immune system? Here's Julie to show you how to make it.
First thing, we're going to make a delicious appetizer that's an immune-building dip. Our first ingredient is organic lentils, a 19-ounce can. Followed by a half a cup of almond butter. Now, almonds are a wonderful source of magnesium. Most people make bean dip with tahini. Know that almond butter is much sweeter. 1 tablespoon of hemp oil. Hemp oil provides GLA, a special fat that balances women's hormones. 1 clove of garlic, or about half a teaspoon. The great thing with organic lemons is that without the pesticides, the peel is that much healthier. It makes a wonderful lemon zest. Half a teaspoon of sea salt. You can use half a cup of fresh basil, but if there isn't any to be found, know that you can also substitute 2 tablespoons of prepared pesto. If you don't have a citrus juicer, know that you can just use a dull knife and actually squeeze the tangerine juice out with your hands. We're just adding the juice of 1 tangerine, which adds an incredible amount of flavor. And of course, you can substitute orange if a tangerine is short at hand. The last ingredient is a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, excellent for cleansing the liver. Last step, blend well. So here's the finished lentil dip that's delicious, served with flax crackers that are coming up. It's delicious.
A dip that boosts your immune system? That sounds great. But what good is a dip without crackers? Julie will now show us how to make sunny flax crackers.
So now we're going to be making sunny flax crackers. Why would you want to be making your own crackers? Well, know that they are flour-free, which is brilliant for diabetics, for anybody who's dieting, anybody who's interested in the health of omega-3s, because the flax seeds are extremely high in the good fats that help build your immune system. We've got 1 cup of flaxseed and 1 cup of mixed seeds, and that can be anything you have around. Sesame, sunflower, or hemp seed are a great choice. You want to soak the flax seeds overnight to allow them to gel together. Add the juice of 2 lemons, a pinch of Celtic sea salt, depending on how salty you like it. What makes these crackers sunny is you can add some extra turmeric. A reminder that turmeric is a very powerful anti-inflammatory, great for arthritis patients. If you want to make these crackers wonderful for your digestive system, you can add something like chopped ginger. It's an optional ingredient, but I highly recommend it if you like it spicy. So now we're going to blend it together well until it's a soupy mixture. There we go, all done. You can see how gel-like the soupy mixture is. That's important because it means that it's going to actually gel it together like egg whites. Another great tool for the kitchen is a dehydrator. It gently dehydrates the food at 110 degrees, ensuring you maintain the enzymes. So first we're going to be using a fruit roll-up tray, which ensures that the cracker mixture doesn't fall through to the bottom of the tray. So you simply spoon the mixture onto the tray. This is a great thing to have your kids do with you at home because they often love playing with it. And use a spatula to smooth it out. So you want to make sure that the crackers are about 1/4 of an inch thick, and keep in mind that because this is seed crackers only, that you are giving yourself a tremendously nutritious snack, and that it's safe to go to school, as so many schools these days are nut-free. That's it, you just pop it in. And ideally you want to dehydrate overnight. Because it's dehydrating at low temperatures, it does take about 8 hours. If you're doing this in the oven, make sure to be cooking it at about 120 degrees just as you turn it on with parchment paper. And you can cook it in about 4 to 6 hours. So the finished product is light and crispy. And you want to be storing these guys in airtight containers. Because they're dehydrated, they can start to go soft. So this is a way to keep them fresh. So this can be made up days in advance. It's great when you're doing holiday entertaining, and is so delicious that everyone's going to be asking you for the recipe.
Sunny flax crackers make a great appetizer. Now, what would make a good side dish?
We're going to be making some great side dishes to go with our curry today. We have black kale, which is very high in calcium and a fast, easy veggie to make alongside your meal. Then I encourage you to try organic brown whole rice with a little sprinkle of the wild rice picked by natives in Canada. It is one of the most nutritious grains you can possibly eat. Today we're going to be using a rice cooker and steamer combo, which is a wonderful addition to your kitchen. The great thing is that steamer works by cooking the rice and traps the steam up top, so it saves a lot of energy. If you don't have a rice cooker, you can always use a pot on the stove with an additional steamer on top. You want to use 2 cups of water for every cup of grain on the stove. And for the rice cooker, pull it back a half a cup. So you're using 1.5 cups of water to 1 cup of grain for your rice cooker. You cook your grain for 30 minutes and then add your kale for the last 10. So 45 minutes in all for both your steamer and your stovetop method for a perfect side dish. You want to start your rice first so that you can go to your curry, and by the time you come back, everything's going to be synced up and served at the same time. After your rice has been cooking for 30 minutes, you want to place your steamer on top with your kale and steam for an additional 10 minutes. When your kale and rice is finished steaming, you can transfer it to a bowl and decide on a dressing. My favorites are the tamari and olive oil, or you can also use the delicious dressing that we came up with earlier to make it nice, thick and creamy. Add about 2 tablespoons and stir till it's well coated. To all those women out there, know that the kale is exceptionally high in calcium and the almond butter in magnesium. This is the ultimate bone building meal. If you have any leftover rice, a perfect idea is to make a rice pudding the next day, or even consider making sushi for lunch.
What would go with this side dish? Chicken curry sounds good.
We're making a main dish of chicken curry today. We're using our organic olive oil over medium flame and adding 4 chopped onions. We're going to be cooking the onions for 10 minutes until they're golden brown over a medium flame. Now our onions are nice and golden brown after 10 minutes. We want to add our tablespoon of chopped ginger, a tablespoon of chopped garlic, extra if you have a cold, and then saute for a few more minutes. Then we're going to add 1 to 2 teaspoons of mild curry paste, depending on how spicy you like it. Because we're making it for kids this week, we'll just go with 1 teaspoon. My favorite addition is 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, as it adds a real sweetness to the meal. It's wonderful to have the oil cook in with the spices because it carries the flavor through the meal. After we have the onions well browned, we're going to be adding our 2 pounds or 1 kilo of chopped chicken. You want to make sure your pieces are uniform, about 2-inch cubic chunks. If you want to make this recipe a delicious vegetarian option, consider the same amount of tofu. As the chicken is browning, you can be adding 2 cups of chopped apples. That's approximately 2 apples. After you've browned up the chicken, you want to be adding your water. Use 1 cup of water and stir. You want to increase heat and bring to a boil, reducing the heat to a simmer. And we're going to simmer until the chicken is almost cooked through for 2 to 3 minutes. And then we want to remove it from heat. Add a teaspoon of lemon juice, 4 cups of spinach, and if you like it extra sweet, because our recipe does not call for sugar, you want to use a 1/2 cup of currants. Currants are like raisins, which are very delicious and add a wonderful sweetness to Indian food. We're going to fold this in so that the spinach is just gently cooked. You want to add 2 tablespoons of coriander as a garnish. You add 1 cup of coconut milk. You want to make sure to never overcook coconut milk, as it will separate. This is a delicious dish that you can serve the whole family depending on their spice range. You can always add a little bit of extra curry powder at the table for those who like it extra spicy, and enjoy.
Here's a question for you. What's more important than the health benefits you can get from organic food? The health benefits your baby will get. Here's Julie.
The organic industry has increased by 20% per year, greatly because moms are being driven into health food stores to assure that their babies are getting the ultimate nutrition. The liver of a baby is unable to metabolize the pesticide residues, so it's very important under the age of 5 to be feeding children organic food. There's lots of great baby food products available, from frozen little cubes to nice jars that are completely free of any additives. But what a better way to provide a food for your baby than right at the dinner table. What you're eating, the child can also be enjoying with this wonderful little device called a baby food grinder. So you just simply load the yam up into the grinder, press down gently while you turn. And now the baby can have exactly what you're eating at the table: organic, healthy yams that are high in beta carotene, making sure you're giving them a good head start. Baby food grinders are incredibly portable and available at most fine health food stores for under $20. By exposing them to wonderful fresh organic foods early, you expand their palate so that they enjoy vegetables all through their life. You might wonder why you don't just mash that yam with a fork. Well, the baby food grinder actually assures you that you're not getting any sort of seeds or skin from any of the fruit or veggies that you're eating. The strainer makes it extra safe.
This is exceptionally healthy advice for babies. Now, let's take a look at organic snacks for older kids.
I get asked all the time how to make kids snacks healthy, how to make portable meals possible, because kids often are tossing out the healthy apples and veggies when they get to school. You do have to make the packaging and the colors as interesting as the stuff their friends are getting. And you want to make sure that the package is organic, because it assures that there's no pesticides, additives, colorings, artificial trans fats. It means that that product is clean, as nutritious as possible. If you're concerned about the environmental impact of packaging, consider that you can buy in bulk and then repackage yourself. Every kid loves these dark chocolate cookies with a nice icing in the middle. This is definitely a 2 o'clock afternoon snack when they've done an excellent job on their homework, not necessarily something to start the day with. I also am a big fan of these applesauce cups, as they're completely unsweetened. Know that applesauce is wonderful because it is adding fiber to fruit. And that brings me to juice. You want to consider organic fruit juice that's watered down 50-50 with water, because fruit juice, being so high in sugar, can often give a kid a real hyperactive lift and then a crash just when you're picking them up from school. A very traditional cracker that kids go nuts for. The beautiful thing is it's organic flour and no trans fats, incredibly important. Trans fats are an artificial fat, so you definitely want to keep it away from children as it's completely artificial. These are one of my personal favorites. I love Rice Krispie Squares. Don't you miss the marshmallows? Well, these are sweetened with much more gentle sweeteners like evaporated cane juice, which contains the original chromium that helps metabolize all that sugar. Pudding traditionally is loaded with cream and sugar. You want to be reaching for these nice lactose-free versions, as a lot of kids notice that they get tummy aches from lactose. It takes no time at all to combine this delicious juice with this organic gelatin packet to create an all-natural organic jello. These are a great treat for Halloween, a little bite of chocolate that is fair trade and organic. What kid doesn't love crackers? The great thing about this, no artificial flavors. A lot of children are finding that the artificial flavors and colors can affect their learning, so you want to give them something all natural. Always assure that your child gets enough protein. It helps establish a nice even keeled blood sugar and assures the brain's running smoothly all day long. So you want to be packing things like bean dip and tuna. Even consider free-range meats that goes without the nitrates, which is a critical thing to avoid. These are some wonderful bread options for children. Know that even though this tastes like white bread, it's used with sourdough instead of yeast, which is a much healthier option for them. Some children are experiencing a gluten intolerance. Up to 1 in 10 people now have a hard time digesting things like wheat. So know that bread is now becoming available with brown rice flour, which is much easier to digest. This is a really fun multi-grain bread that has sprouted grains in it that makes it much easier to digest, and it's higher in protein. For sandwich spreads, you want to always be packing things like wild fish, some delicious organic cheese. I know that goat chev is much easier to digest than the typical conventional dairy. And things like honey and hemp seeds are now being ground into a butter, which make a safe peanut-free nut butter replacement for school lunches. A great way to expand a child's palate is to develop their taste for fruits and veggies early. Always provide a nice dip for the veggies, making sure it's nice and portable. And also a key thing, always give children a choice. It's been proven that if you only give them an apple, they might reject it. But if you say, would you like an apple or an orange? And they have choice, they often will definitely eat that piece of fruit. By starting early and giving them lots of organic choices, you're giving your children everything they need to develop into a wonderful young adult.
From organic baby food and organic snacks for kids, we'll move on to an absolutely delicious dessert for the entire family.
To finish out, we're going to have a delicious appleberry cobbler. Now this recipe is so healthy that not only can you have it for dessert, but also breakfast the next day. Things to keep in mind is that the skin of an apple contains 5 grams of fiber, so we never want to peel our apples for an apple cobbler. This is a great little appliance to acquire for under $5. It's called an apple slicer, and it's going to be slicing our apples instantly. That's how easy it is. If you haven't quite acquired an apple slicer, know that you just simply want to cut in 4 quick, easy slices. That's all you have to do. Maybe 1 quick chop to make sure that the pieces are uniform, and away you go. So know that in here I have 8 apples, which is approximately 8 cups of apples. I'm going to be sprinkling a teaspoon of cinnamon over top. The reason why I like to do this is it makes the cinnamon flavor uniform through the whole recipe. And now I'm going to be adding 2 cups of blueberries. Frozen is fine. Organic blueberries by the pint can be quite expensive, so know that the wild are just as good. What I love to do with my strawberries is buy them in June when they're at the peak of freshness and freeze them so that I'm paying pennies of what I would be paying through January. We have 2 cups of strawberries that are going on this. Absolutely delicious. Know that now I'm going to actually mix the berries up quickly with my fingers so that I have the fruit nice and mixed through the bowl. And now we're going to build our topping. First, we're going to be using amaranth flour. Now, the reason why I love amaranth is that it's low on the sugar scale. It's great for diabetics. As you know, white flour can be quite harmful, like sugar, to a diabetic. I'm also a big fan because it's gluten-free. So anyone with wheat allergies are particular fans of using amaranth, and it tastes delicious. It's got a great nutty flavor. So we're going to be using 2 cups of that if you're making a double recipe, and then 2 cups of our rolled quinoa. This is another wonderful seed grain. It's a great source of protein. Both of these are high protein grains because they're seeds, and all seeds are high in protein. So we're going to be mixing that up. Our next ingredient, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and that's going to add a little lift because a gluten-free flour is a little bit heavier, so that helps lift it up. And then we're using a 1/2 cup of pumpkin seeds and a 1/2 cup of chopped organic almonds, and more cinnamon. Now, I'm a cinnamon junkie for a good reason. Cinnamon stabilizes your blood sugar, so everyone should be adding cinnamon to dessert because it's going to help keep that blood sugar nice and level, so you're not having that dip at 2 in the afternoon after a sugary dessert. And just for extra fun, squeeze a little pure vanilla extract into the recipe. It's going to give it that creamy vanilla ice cream flavor. And our last ingredient, agave. We're going to be using a 1/2 cup of agave. This is going to help gel the recipe together and add a little bit of sweetness. Now, know that if you are really sensitive to sugar, it's not necessary to add this ingredient. You can just get by with the sweetness of the fruit. I'm going to be adding a teaspoon of ginger root powder, or 2 teaspoons if you're making a double recipe. Ginger root powder is very good for the digestive tract, so know that it's a perfect digestive treat after a big meal. We're going to be using 4 tablespoons of coconut oil because we're making a double recipe. Now, coconut oil is extremely special. A lot of people are fearful of saturated fat, but know that coconut, they now realize, has MCTs, or medium chain triglycerides, that do not like to be stored as fat. They like to be burned as fuel, so it's very good. It's also high in caprylic acid and lauric acid, very good for the immune system, so enjoy coconut oil. So we're going to mix this well, making sure that we get lots of the crumble happening. That oil and the agave syrup is going to help clump the recipe so that it creates that nice natural crumble topping. So for a double recipe, we'd be using 2 cups of apple juice. I love using apple juice in a recipe. Know that every fruit I've used today is low on the glycemic index. That's a rating system for diabetics, so this is a perfectly safe recipe for them. Blueberries are a spectacular source of phytonutrients, one of the healthiest foods in the entire world. You definitely want to eat as many blueberries as you can. Now we're going to be adding the topping. Be very careful. I like to stack mine high, so you want to make sure that you pack it as you go. If you ever had those mom's apple pies that are so high, they're completely teeming with flavor, that's what we're going for, so that it's mostly fruit. So we're tricking kids to thinking, oh, they're eating dessert, when in fact they're having a healthy breakfast. And now it's ready to bake. You want to bake it for 25 to 35 minutes at 350 degrees, and make sure not to overcook it because we've got fragile oils happening in the nuts. It smells great. Enjoy this with your whole family, and know that you're not just satisfying your taste buds, you're taking care of all your nutritional requirements.
That looks absolutely amazing, and trust me, it tastes even better. If you're like me, then with the day-to-day grind and hectic living, you have very little time to eat well, let alone organic and well. Julie has some helpful advice for us.
So many people ask me, Julie, I have no time to cook. I wish I could eat organic, but really, there's no time. I understand. I just want to let you know I've traveled around the world and have managed to cook naturally along the way. I'm going to show you some fun and easy ways to keep organic portable. One of the most critical things you can do while traveling is make sure you get enough protein, as it's really easy to eat lots of bread and carbohydrates. These are wonderful pre-packed boiled eggs that you can just throw on a salad or eat as is for an instant 14-gram boost of protein. Things like the salmon that comes with a flip-top lid makes for a fantastic 5-minute meal at work. You simply mix it up and put it on a wonderful bread that has sprouted grains. Know that you also want to add things like lentil and soya flour into the bread that you're looking for. Look for that in the ingredient listings, because it means that you've got an extra boost of protein, and it's a complete protein, which is very important. Moving away from your standard white crackers, you want to be looking for baked brown rice crackers that are much easier to digest, and they taste so great. There's nothing easier for a meal on the run than a meal replacement bar. Just make sure that it's got balanced nutrition, equal parts of protein, essential fats, and good balanced carbohydrates, avoiding the refined sugar. Know that sesame seeds have 4 times the calcium of milk, making them a great portable snack for women. Clear out one of your office drawers and make rooms for some wonderful foods like these canned organic soups and some trail mix to make sure that you always have a nice steady blood sugar at work. I just fell in love with this Japanese lunchbox. You're able to keep all your different components of your lunch separate. I've got some soups, some trail mix, my hummus, and carrots, all portable and ready to go. And the great thing is, it's also saving the environment because it's litter free. There's been a great awareness recently that plastic water bottles are not a good idea because they mimic estrogens in the body. These portable water bottles are fantastic. They're metal lined with a food-based enamel, so it's perfectly safe to drink out of, and you are saving thousands of pieces of plastic going into the environment each year. Save yourself piles of money by buying in bulk and then storing it in a nice cold thermos so you can enjoy your cold yogurt and fruit when you get to work. Have you ever noticed you're not quite ready to eat at 7 o'clock in the morning? So it's wonderful to bring breakfast with you so you don't miss the most important meal of the day. One of my favorite breakfasts on the run is a hemp seed shake or a vegan meal replacement shake blended with a banana and some berries for a great meal on the run. So a nice easy example of breakfast would be simply boiling water in your cooker using instant quinoa. Quinoa is a delicious gluten-free grain that's easy to digest and cooks in less than 90 seconds. You simply add your blueberries and stir for a delicious instant breakfast. As you can see, there's lots of delicious choices for food on the run that's organic, healthy, and great for the planet.
Wow, Julie, those are great ideas for the organic family on the go. But do you have any ideas on how to eat organically without adding to my waistline?
If you're looking to lose weight, know that you want to be reaching for whole organic food choices like proteins, low glycemic carbs, and essential fats. You want to make sure to be eating lots of protein, eggs, wild fish, lots of lentils, hemp protein, because it's going to help stabilize your blood sugar and prevent sugar cravings. And you know that's really what you need to do when you want to lose weight. Some wonderful low glycemic index carbohydrates would include any leafy green, as it's only 25 calories a cup. And then you have things like grapefruit and yams. Those have sweetness, but they're low on the sugar scale. That's the ultimate way to keep your weight beautifully balanced. When looking for treats like muffins or cookies, make sure to pick whole grains that have piles of fiber. And you want to consider sweeteners like agave and stevia in muffins that have the same sweetness, but do not spike your blood sugar. These delicious ginger snaps make a great treat because you can have 15 of them for 150 calories. That's a sane treat because you know you're going to want more than one. Things like brown rice snaps or baked tortilla chips really give you that satiation of a crispy snack. All through the 80s, we were all about avoiding fat. Know that we now understand that fat is an essential way to lose weight. You want to be focusing on things like coconut oil, which boosts your thyroid. Your thyroid controls your metabolism, and it's extremely important to have a nice, strong thyroid. Another great fat is that we've been hearing piles about how omega-3s are essential for weight loss. You can find them in wild fish, omega-3 flax bars, hemp seeds, even this delicious chocolate. Who doesn't love a little chocolate? Everyone needs a treat. But know that they now have bars that are got omega-3 infused directly into them. They also contain 70% cocoa butter, so they're incredibly low on the sugar scale, making them a perfect 2 p.m. pickup. Most of us look forward to a cup of Java to get us out of bed in the morning. Know that caffeine does work to stimulate the metabolism. I just encourage you to enjoy it organically because it is the second most pesticide sprayed crop in the world. Not only is organic coffee an excellent environmental decision, it also stimulates you to get to the gym, as you know that exercise is a critical part of every weight loss routine. Know that organic whole foods are a great way to lose weight naturally and keep it off permanently.
So far, everything you've taught us has been really great. Now, what challenges would a vegetarian have going organic?
Many people see how vegetarianism and organics go hand in hand because they're both a wonderful way to save the environment. If you are a vegetarian, you want to make sure to keep all your nutrient needs covered off by ensuring these key points. First off, you want to make sure you have a lot of protein. I say the average vegetarian is starved for protein, unfortunately, because all the restaurants offer for a vegetarian is pasta and pasta and pasta. So consider if you do eat eggs and dairy, that's a critical place you can get it. And also combine your grains with beans. That completes the protein to ensure that you're getting enough. Iron is such a critical nutrient for vegetarians because meat provides heme, which is a very easy form of iron to absorb. So if you want to make sure that you've got good energy throughout the day, eat things like kale and dried fruit, especially apricot kernel halves. And also enjoy molasses, which is one of the highest sources of vegetarian iron. The next nutrient you want to be mindful of is B12. If you still eat dairy and eggs, you're fine because there's lots of B12 in those. But if you're really a strict vegan, then you have to be very careful. Some think that there's B12 in things like spirulina and nutritional yeast. In fact, they're just B12 analogs and very hard to get enough. So you may want to consider taking a B12 supplement. A B12 lozenge dissolved under your tongue tastes great, and make sure that you've got enough B12 for the week. B12 works with iron to carry the oxygen in your blood, so if you're feeling exhausted, make sure you're getting enough. Seaweed has many of the great trace minerals that seafood has, and it's also a delicious, fun, easy snack. And last, zinc is another area where vegetarians may become deficient because we're often eating it in seafood. So if you're a strict vegetarian and off all fish, consider things like pumpkin seed, dark greens, and lots of beans and grains to get enough zinc. Zinc is responsible for our immune system and hormone balance, so I must stress that it's a critical nutrient. Many vegetarians rely on superfoods to make sure they've got all their nutrient needs covered off. Cononopsis is an ancient root that's been rediscovered. That, coupled with maca, are two delicious roots that taste like sweet potato, so they're used almost as a food, but have a supercharged herbal boost of energy. Golgi berries are also known as red raisins in Asia. They pack an incredible amount, 170% of your daily needs of vitamin A in one little serving. That's going to ensure that your immune system stays strong all through the winter. Yerba mate is a powerful herb from the rainforest that provides antioxidants and amino acids. Often yerba mate is used like a coffee substitute because it makes a great tasting latte. Have you ever met a vegetarian who doesn't like their veggies? I certainly have. We all need extra veggies. They are asking for 7 servings nowadays. So this great organic shake is a wonderful thing to be adding. It's giving you at least 2 servings of your veggies covered off with broccoli, kale, cranberries, okra, papaya, rose hips, all in one delicious shake. It's not delicious. It actually tastes a little bit green, but it's good for you. One of the most delicious vegetarian additions to any meal is hemp. It provides a whopping 11 grams of protein for only 2 ounces. Vegetarianism is a wonderful way to reduce your impact on the planet. Just make sure that you've got all your nutrient needs covered off to ensure vibrant health.
Finding the time to make organic lifestyle fit into our family is really important to me. In a few moments, I'm going to join Julie in her kitchen to get her advice on switching to a green lifestyle.
Shannon's been making a wonderful transition to a healthier green lifestyle. And here I am showing her how to do some quick tips to make sure that she can keep up with this with the busy life of a mom.
Oh.
How has it been going?
Oh, Julie, I'm so glad you're here and that we're talking about this, because so often we end up after football practice or dance or any number of the activities that we're involved in, and we end up going through the drive-thru. So this is really good information. And I know that you were going to share with me some of the things that we can do to make the week go more smoothly.
Certainly.
Okay,
so the big thing as a mom, don't you find that Sundays often are a bit of a chunk of time where it's unprogrammed? Because so often kids are programmed every day of the week.
Hey, that's exactly. We kind of, we have a couple hours, even a few hours on Sunday where we hang.
There's no better activity to hang with kids than to teach them cooking. I mean, it's also another wonderful life skill. So if you can get together and have it be a bit of a jam, then they're having an infusion of enthusiasm that they get to choose what they're eating over the week. So you can talk about your menu, having a menu posted on the fridge where they get to say, Mom, I want tacos on Tuesday. Let's have enchiladas on Wednesday. Some sort of participation is really important. And then cooking a lot on Sunday is great. Having a big crock pot going and then canning it up, then it's a perfectly safe food because we're going to seal out all the germs. Until you crack that open, it's completely hygienically sealed. So I think going back to the old canning methods, the way we did like 20 years ago before fast food is a great idea.
Now we can can this and keep it in my pantry?
You could. Now if you are going to do that method, you have to sterilize your jars really carefully. You've got to actually boil the jar on the stove and have it piping hot when you bring it over, and have your food extremely hot. That's the key element to make sure that canning's safe on the shelf. But if you're just going to store it in the fridge for a week or two, then as long as your jar has gone through the dishwasher, then it means that it's gone to a really high temperature and there won't be any serious germs on the jar, and that will mean that it can be refrigerated for the week.
Excellent. So we pull it out and we have dinner.
Yeah, pull it out and have dinner. So we just want to make sure that the food is hot when you're packing it. And you want to get yourself one of these fantastic funnels that ensure that the job happens really easy. It makes packing nice and fun. And the great thing about having a canning scenario going on, I do find that the average kid doesn't mind these sort of tasks.
This is fun.
This is slave labor. That's not too bad. Exactly. So you want to make sure that you're packing it up to about the fluid line so that you've got enough fluid to cover it. That's going to keep the top from getting oxidized. So there's about a can. And the last tip is that when you screw this lid on, it's important to wait for the safety seal. So in about 10 minutes, you're going to hear a pop where the seal goes down, and that ensures you that there's a wonderful vapor seal that's going to keep the bacteria out. Know that if that has not happened, then the seal isn't quite ready, and we're going to have to eat the soup in the next day or two.
Or we have a redo.
Exactly, for sure. And the last tip on freezing, so many people like to freeze in Tupperware. Just know that they now know that if you overpack a Tupperware container and it expands, then you're breaking the polymer bond on the plastic and you start to eat the plastic. And very important, guys, if you want to eat an organic meal, please don't stick this plastic in the microwave because you're warming the microwave up and eating a little plastic with your food.
There's so many things. You know what? What a great tip, because so many people don't even recognize I heat stuff all the time in the microwave. And so I'm feeding my kids over and over again plastic in. I'm so
so know that you would just simply run that under a little bit of hot water, and that's going to pop it out onto a nice ceramic dish, and that's perfectly safe to warm up in the mic.
That's
awesome. So the tips for meal planning are keeping the calendar on the fridge, making sure to involve the kids, especially on Sundays when you can cook once on Sunday and have food all week long.
Great idea.
All right.
Thanks, Julie.
So then you want to be doing the canning. This is wonderful for fridge and for pantry, but remember that it is glass, so we don't want to break it if we stick it in the freezer. That's when we're moving for plastic. Make sure not to fill it up too much above this line so that we aren't breaking the old plastic polymer on that. And if you are going to re-microwave, we're going to transfer it into a different container.
Got it.
All right. Fantastic.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Super.
Julie.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks so much, Julie. Meal planning is so important, and preserving is going to make a huge difference in our time budget. Now, eating well on a budget is a challenge for everyone. Here's Julie to show us how.
I've often been asked, how can we all afford organics? Well, there are some fun, helpful tips. One of the greatest things you can do is support CSAs, Community Supported Agriculture. That's where you buy a share on the farm early in the season, which supports the farmer. And then the farmer delivers delicious produce to you when it's in season. Things like strawberries and basil are incredibly cheap when they're in season. Consider freezing them, making a pesto or a beautiful strawberry puree. That ensures you that you're getting incredibly cheap organic all year long. Another tip is to grow your own produce. Know that rooftop gardening and a windowsill garden is becoming all the rage. It's so easy. Another one is to consider even a little sprout garden in the middle of January. That way you can have fresh greens for pennies. I've priced it out. If you consider how much fast food costs nowadays, you can make delicious organic meals yourself and it'll save you a fortune. Just consider making it from scratch. And the last point is be flexible. Know that there are things that are extremely critical to buy organically and things that are not so important, so check our reference guide for more information.
Who knew going organic on a budget could be so simple? These are some great ideas that I'm going to use with my own family. Now, let's go back to Julie for some last thoughts before we wrap up.
Thank you for joining us today. I know some of these wonderful, fun and easy recipes are going to help you integrate the organic lifestyle. Eating organically is a fantastic health insurance policy. Remember, eating a rainbow assortment of organic foods will ensure you've got all your nutrient needs covered off. Eating organically truly is a path to vibrant health, and you're going to save the planet at the same time.